Hey folks, Gary Bunzer here, the RV Doctor, to talk today about waste management, how effectively we manage the waste that we carry in our holding tanks. Two of the biggest issues with RVers today is odor control. Obviously we don't want odors permeating anywhere near the RV, especially inside, such as when we were to flush the toilet, for example. And then the second issue is how effectively do we break down the solid waste in the black toilet tank? In other words, can we break down the solids and the tissue enough to where we eliminate any chance of blockages occurring anywhere in the system downstream of the holding tank? It's quite common in some floor plan applications that it creates a blockage inside the holding tank, but that's a rarity. So the biggest issue, I think, for most RVers is how do we get rid of that nasty odor that we smell whenever we flush the holding tank? For many years, I recommended a product that worked very, very well. It was quite effective at what it did. It eliminated the odors. It was one of the first, if not the first, enzyme-based holding tank additive available. Live bacteria. You literally poured live bugs down inside your holding tanks. Now, that might not sound appealing to some, but today I want to introduce you to a product from OP Products, and this product does a wonderful job of eliminating odors, number one, and number two, breaking up the waste. We're going to actually perform a little experiment here to show you how effective it is in breaking up solids. We're going to use tissue paper to show you how that is effectively done. The thing about OP Products and the Pure Power Blue product in their line is that it's basically 4 times as strong, 4 times more concentrated than any of its nearest competitors, meaning it breaks up waste and solids that much more effectively in a shorter amount of time using less of the product itself. OP Products, as you can see here, comes in a variety of sizes. You can get them in individual bottles of 2 ounces all the way up to a gallon here. It's completely safe to use. The bacillus type of bacteria is absolutely safe. So we tested it in the field. We're going to do a little simple experiment here on the bench, and we'll show you how effective it is at breaking up the solid waste that may be in your holding tanks. Now, I'm a firm believer of also using a holding tank additive in the gray water tanks as well. There's just as many odors that can proliferate from the gray water as can from the black water holding tank. The other thing nice about the Pure Power Blue is it does come in a pouch. If you don't like the liquid format, just one pouch will be effective for about a 40-gallon holding tank. 2 ounces of the liquid will be good enough for approximately a 40-gallon holding tank. If you're going to be in extreme temperatures in the summer, it's probably a good idea to maybe double that dosage. And if you first switch over from a formaldehyde-based or any aldehyde-based type of a chemical, those are the kinds that are bad for the environment. And there are some campgrounds, especially out here in the West, that basically will not allow you to empty or to evacuate your holding tanks if you indeed use a formaldehyde-based chemical additive. These are all enzyme-based, bacteria-infused, totally safe. Now, if you're switching over from a formaldehyde-based chemical to an enzyme-based additive, you may have to double the dosage the first couple times you use it. But let's do a little bit of experiment. If you see here, I've got 2 jars filled with tap water. This one is just simply plain tap water, and this one here is has an ounce or so of the Pure Power Blue. One of the commonplace issues RVers must face often is whether to buy RV branded toilet tissue. It's obviously more expensive, so we're going to use this industrial grade right here out of the warehouse. You can see it's not even a soft household brand. So we're going to put 4 pieces of 2-ply, common 2-ply industrial grade type tissue into each of these jars. The one here is just plain tap water, and I'll stuff these down here and we're going to give it a test. And the other one, we have 4 pieces of 2-ply tissue that we'll put in the tap water containing the Pure Power Blue. Now, this was a 1-hour test that was done by a friend of mine, and we're simply replicating his test. His test is actually posted on the RV Doctor website. If you go to the product spotlight page, you can read Chris's complete report on this. Now, I'm not one to normally switch horses in midstream, but that other company that I used to use their products for many, many years, unfortunately decided to take that product off the market and to focus their product line in another market altogether. So they quit making the enzyme-based additive. So that began my quest for trying to find another product that was just as effective. Now, I mentioned earlier that OP products and Pure Power Blue are environmentally friendly. The Go Green movement has been around since we found out that formaldehyde-based chemicals were a bad thing. They've always been using the enzyme base. They just didn't recently join the bandwagon. From the get-go, they've been at the forefront of using the enzyme-based products. So that's just something that we as RVers can really learn to appreciate. In this jar, as I mentioned, we have the 4 pieces of 2-ply tissue in just plain tap water, and in this jar we have tap water with 4 pieces of 2-ply tissue along with an ounce or so of the Pure Power Blue. So we're going to wait an hour and see what the results will be. I'll be right back. Okay, it's been about an hour. Let's see how our experiment is coming along. What I'm going to do is stir the contents of these jars, this one with just the plain tap water along with the 4 sheets of 2-ply paper. We'll stir it kind of like an agitation of the holding tank going down the road. And as you can see, not much is happening with the plain toilet paper in the tap water. Now let's stir the tissue that's in the Pure Power Blue. As you can see, when we stir this, as we agitate this, it's actually breaking up the solid portions of that tissue, thereby breaking it into smaller particles, which simply means it's going to be a lot easier to evacuate this holding tank. As you can see on the plain toilet paper side, the plain water, just look at how that coagulates, and basically the sheets maintain their consistency, and sometimes they even bond together, creating these long stretches of paper as well. Not a good situation. Here's another reason why it's important to break up the solids inside of the Blackwater holding tank especially. If you look at this, this is basically the piece of plastic which would replicate the sidewalls of the holding tank, and it's equipped with through-the-wall tank sensors. In other words, the sensors come through the side of the holding tank into the contents of the holding tank, and thereby gives you the monitor level of how full each of the holding tanks are. Now, if you look sideways, you can see that these through-the-wall sensors basically form little hooks, which is perfect for waste and sludge and tissue to hang up on, causing the erratic readings. You would not believe the number of emails I get each year to the RV Doctor column regarding erratic monitor panel readings. What do you mean it reads 1/3 full? I just emptied my tanks. Here's an example of why it's important to break down those solids. Let's take a little bit of the tissue from the jar with the plain water, and you can see if toilet paper were to hang onto these probes like this and actually touch one of the other probes, it effectively short circuits those 2 probes. So you get a false reading if the tissue or the sludge happens to connect a level probe with what's called a common probe. It basically makes the connection, you get conductivity, you get erratic holding tank readings, and there you go. So that's another reason why it's very, very important to break down the solids and use an additive in your holding tank. So there you have it, folks, a little experiment that shows you the effectiveness of Pure Power Blue by OP products breaking down the solid waste. And actually, you can't smell the odor, but it actually has a very nice fragrance to it as well. It's not overwhelming as some of the additives may be. Pure Power Blue, OP products, I highly recommend you try it. I believe I found my new horse.